That's my jam, y'all. That is my jams. All right, so we're gonna get started, you guys. I hope you all are doing so very well. This will be on replay, like all of the others. Um, Let me just go right into the copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Okay, so we got that out of the way. So I wanted to talk about this supposed quote or statement made by Putin. Now, it has been said that it has not been proven that Putin actually said this about, Africa and African leaders, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, but it is said, okay, and not been proven that he said, that Africans. Let me find it. Yeah, so he said when an African becomes rich, his bank accounts are located in Switzerland. He goes to France for treatment, invests in Germany, makes purchases in Dubai, consumes Chinese products. He prays in Rome or Mecca. His children are studying in Europe. He has a vacation in Canada, the US, or Europe. When he dies, he will be buried in his native country. Africa is only a cemetery for Africans. Now, that's a mouthful, and whether he actually said it or not, here is all about truth. And I don't see a lie in anything that was just read in that statement, regardless of who said it. Whoever wrote that was speaking the truth. And this is why Africa will continue to stay behind and stagnant. Africa is on a script. One thing I saw when I went in the various lands, in the few lands that I had the privilege of traveling to in Alkebulan, I noticed the script. You're either Christian, that's why he says praise in Rome, okay? So you're either under the Roman Catholic Church, okay? Because which all of it is under that, even the Muslim religion, the Islam. Okay, or Mecca, hence Islam. So it's always this split between Christians and Muslims in the lands in which I have had the privilege in traveling in. And I could remember when I had my house in Tanzania, like my house in Arusha, I had to move. The one that I actually gave a tour of that I love so much, I actually had to move because the church was every single day, like 3 or 4 times a day, at all times a day, you guys. It could be, and I'm not kidding or over exaggerating, it could be 5 a.m. and they would start in the church, and all you would hear is woo-ha, woo-ha. Like that's all you would hear, and then what I started to notice when I got my house in Dar was that something had changed, because in Arusha, the church would have its time and then the call would go out at various times, but they were never together. By the time I got my house in Dar, it was like they were competing for souls. They were like, I would hear the call, and then here goes the church starting with theirs. Like it keeps the people of that land in a state of religious hypnosis on purpose. They have services 3 and 4 times a day throughout the entire day to keep the people distracted, to keep them dumbed down. The African leaders have no no confidence in their own land, in their own abilities. I can remember when the video came out of the brother that was in Sierra Leone and he was fighting with the Asian men, and they were working on some sort of project there. And remember how he was in his face and he was like chasing him around, and the brother defended himself. And I asked the question, why is this allowed? Why do they feel so emboldened to disrespect you and abuse you in your own land? And why are you contracting these individuals of the other nations to come in and do work that you and your people are fully capable of doing? And a sister from Sierra Leone commented and said, sis, because they are not capable of doing this work on their own. And I said, why do you say so? And she's like, well, because they simply aren't. They don't have the skills or the knowledge to do this kind of work. And I said, but that is not true. They're the indigenous and the first of and in that land. What do you think they were doing prior to this time and this age where they're now contracting and outsourcing this work? Who do you think did the work prior to this? Did you not study the kingdoms and the empires and from which we come from and we hail from? Who do you think did the work in the building? So what do you mean they don't have the knowledge or the skill to execute this type of work? No confidence. There is no confidence within the people of the land. Every other land is so much better than their land. And they knock down doors. They literally swim across waters, transverse through deserts, okay, and face death or near death just to get to these other lands that they feel are so much more superior and better than their own. Meanwhile, all these other lands, especially in the European countries and China, live off of the resources that come from your land. However, in their minds, their land is better than Alkebulan on any given day. And they teach their children the same thing. They teach them to feel insufficient within their own land. They have no hope in their own abilities in their land, for the growth and development of their land, for the upliftment of the people and the land. There is no hope. I saw that with my own eyes when I would try to speak life into the sisters and brothers that I encountered while I was on the continent, to let them know that everything that you need is here in your land. Know that. Appreciate that. Use that as your leverage. Know that you feed the world, that this land provides for the world. And they would say, oh no, we know that it's here, but it's not ours. And I'm like, wow, no confidence. One brother told me that he doesn't see Tanzania like becoming conscious for, like, he said, what did he say, another 50 to 100 years, Josiah? Yeah, the brother that said he doesn't see Tanzania becoming conscious, he said like 50 to 100 years or more. He said really more. Yeah. So there's no confidence. Everything that they teach their children is about other lands. They feel confident that they can go and they can travel, or that they have a dual citizenship to go and live this great delusional American dream or foreign dream in other lands. No confidence. So I see no lies in this statement at all. No lies. There's no real effort being put into developing Africa for Africans. It's anything that they do, it's for the enjoyment of other nations to come over. The people don't even feel a part. The people that are a part of the land. So I see no lies there. Yes, Africa most often is the place where the leaders, after they've gone and they've had their marvelous experiences and they've lived their entire lives and their children outside of their home country. One thing I always try to reiterate about America is that that's home as well. And I love that land. However, I'm not a part of the corporation, which is the US. That's the distinction. That land is beautiful. That land is ancient. That land reared me. That land nurtured me. And I don't forsake that land. This entire planet is my home. I've been here several times, as many of you. So where is the lie in that statement? There is no lie. And so we can't get upset. We have to read the words and we have to analyze it to see, is this true or is this not true? And because I've had the privilege of living on the continent and witnessing it myself, I can say that I see no lies there. And if whomever said this, they weren't saying it in a disrespectful manner. That's not the energy that I got from this statement. This statement was kind of like a clarion call. This is how I received it, to awaken the people so that you can really see the error of your ways, the error of your mentality and how you operate. Because it also said in there, somewhere in there, which I did not read, is that if someone, especially like a Mzungu or someone from another nation, when they come over and they do their dirt in Alkebulan, there are no consequences and repercussions, rarely, if any. This is how you can just scour through YouTube and see countless videos of other nations oppressing the people, abusing the people, and even killing the people. You see, there's a video that I reported on my other channel, Mahogany Speaks Truth, of an Asian man handcuffing a sister in her land of South Africa. And while other brothers were, fussing with him and making idle threats, because that's what they were, the Asian man knew that they were idle threats. That's why he was walking around like this with his hands behind his back. Like he was paying no mind, okay, to what the idle threats of the brother. And he was saying, untie her and unhandcuff her. Do you even think that you could even look at a woman in a disrespectful manner in their land, more or less handcuff her? I mean, come on, let's just think about this behavior. This behavior what was established by this behavior being done over and over again, and there being no consequences, and them knowing it, that I can do this, and they're not going to do a damn thing about it. So Africa is on a script. I saw it in every land. They are consumed by religion, consumed. And there's a history, okay, about the melanated nation. And this is why I said you have to trace your own bloodline back to really know who you are, because there is no one size fit all. Yes, we share in this intelligence, which is melanin. It's not just a pigment. This is an intelligence. It's a superconductor. Okay. And it can transform energy, other energies into other energies. This is the power of melanin. You have it everywhere, in your ears and your eyes. And it allows you, it heightens your senses and your abilities. This is an intelligence. A lot of the things that our ancestors were able to do, they did it through the use and the intelligence of melanin, which is not just this, it's in here. It's in here, literally, in your mind, in your brain. It's in your ear. It's in your eyes. So they were able to build these megalithic structures and these pyramids and these megalithic heads with our ancestors, the Olmecs, and they left these things behind to remind us of who we are. Although we all share this beautiful pigment, we all have a unique a bloodline, and we have to do that work to find out exactly who we are. But we have lost total confidence in who we are on the continent. They're just so downtrodden, and it makes me really, really sad. But this is the script that they're on. All they have time to think about is eating, drinking. You know, they might shoot the breeze and take a nap. And then other than that, at the mosque, in church. That's by design. If you've gone to other African countries, you'll see the same script. So there were multiple sects of Moors, and not all of them were good. Some of them sold some of us out. That's the story. And they hail from, there were a Christian sect, there was a Muslim sect. And there was a lot of betrayal. And that's why you still see the sort of dynamic, the relationship dynamic that we have today. This stems back from ancient times. They want the people, our brothers and sisters, they want them to stay in that coma so that it can continue to feed them. And at this juncture, it's going to take the younger generation, the younger lions, to awaken and to take over and take a rightful position and rewrite all the wrongs of the previous leadership. That's what it's going to take. There were some bad deals made by some of the ancestors, and those bad deals, those contracts, are still in works today. There were civil rights movements, there were other freedom movements, and through the government created a doja roll, okay? And it had secrets of some of those leaders in those roles. And it was to blackmail them. And the ones that they could not blackmail, they spoiled them by giving them high-ranking positions in the government in Alkebulan. So a lot of them were in ambassador positions, and it spoiled them. And you see those same people in position now. They replace one with another. That's what it is. So I see no lies in the statement that was made, whether it was made by Putin or not made by him. That person didn't speak any lies, and it was not in a disrespectful manner. It was done so that hopefully the brothers and sisters on the continent can see how they're looking out here in these streets, so that they can really see themselves and see how they're being perceived by the world. And to know that they don't have to continue to take this, that they don't have to continue to stay in this low estate. So now, the only thing my land is good for is to lay my body to rest. It wasn't good enough for me to stay here and to cultivate on the land and to invest in it, in the economic growth, and to educate the youth about our kingdoms and our empires and our culture and our heritage and our ways. All of that comes with the mentality. But no, I forsake all of my ancient ways and I give them up for the ways of the oppressor, because they're more superior. So I essentially give up my true self. Africa is not good enough for me to rear my children in. No. The education, it's not good enough here. There are not enough great minds here to teach my child or children. It's not good enough for my children to then attend the universities and the schools here. The minds just aren't good enough. So yeah, I have to make sure that my child is able to go outside to other countries to get this the education, because it just can't happen here in Alkebulan. We're just not mentally capable enough. Although we are the original indigenous people of this land, and although we've done great things in the past, and that blood runs through our veins right now today, it's still in us, it's still accessible, but it's not good enough. See? It's not good enough. That's a sickness. It is a sickness, and it is poisoning the minds and the hearts of the people. And because the minds and the hearts of the people are poisoned, it is also poisoning the land, because there's an even exchange. It can only give you back what you give it. And I weep. I truly weep for them. I want them to know how great they are. I want them to bethink themselves, and I want them to remember. Because the very survival of the generations to come and the land is dependent upon them awakening. Any energy, any light, because that's what we are. We are solar light bodies. The Mother Earth is truly, truly eradicating all low vibrational frequencies, all low vibrational beings. She's tired. Things have gotten so ugly, you guys. Things have gotten so ugly. Righteousness is still being frowned upon. This is why you see every channel, maybe like mine or maybe like others, and they're divinely called, okay, to preach the message of truth and to reestablish righteousness on this earth, because we've gone through enough of confusion, of delusion, and of trickery. And I just wonder, aren't you tired? Because the earth is tired, and you can see it in all the cataclysms. You can see it in all the earthquakes and all the volcanoes. That's the earth speaking and saying, I am tired, and I'm getting ready to eradicate all of this negative, bad energy from this place. We're tired of it. This is the age of Aquarius. There is no delusion but willful delusion. Pisces is gone. And we had to go through that, believe it or not. So those of us that really went through that and we were really doing our work, these are the ones that you see enlightened today. These are the ones that you see that are speaking out and speaking the message of truth and light. If that was a hard time to go through, when you're the opposite of that energy of lies and of deceit, of ignorance, of trickery. That's what we have been under. And the cycle continues, and the tricks continue, and the script continues, and especially on the continent. It's heavy there, and they don't even know they're on a script. That's the sad part. I could see that in North America, how it was happening in reverse. And it caused me to think that the same awakening that I was witnessing prior to me moving to the continent, that it was also happening on the continent. And so when I got there and did not see it, I was surprised. I really was, because I could see, prior to me moving to the continent, I could see how we were coming out of the churches and the mosque, okay? And we were coming back to spirit. We were searching for it. We were searching for that information. We were searching for it. And then when I got to the continent, I didn't see that. They were quite comfortable and complacent, and they were happy on their script. Bati Israel, what did the woman mean by "this is not ours"? Why do they think the country is not theirs? They were no. This is let me clarify that. It wasn't about the country. I was talking to them about the resources that they have available to them, and they were saying it is not ours. They don't feel like it's theirs. There is nothing that is tangible to them. You know, they have not, there's been no tangible benefit that they have had being the inheritors and the heirs of the resources, because it's been sold out by wicked leaders, so-called leaders that have been strategically placed there perpetually. Because if I'm telling you that, hey, you're wealthy, you're wealthy when you sit up here living in squalor and poverty, but here I am, I'm telling you you're wealthy, and you can't see it because you haven't experienced it in any way, but here I am telling you that it's yours. And because it's yours, you are wealthy. But it has had no positive impact in your life or on your, or it has not improved your condition, then how are you going to really believe that? Or really, at this point in Aquarius, you know, how do they know that? You understand? Because there's still a great disconnect there. Most of the mines and the mining rights, they're acquired by people that are not native to the land. These are other nations that come in and they get the mining licenses. But very few of the native people have it. And they don't even think they can. I asked a lot of sisters and brothers while I was in Tanzania, why don't you get some mining rights so you can mine some of this tanzanite and gold and all of that, and uplift yourself and your family? And they said, oh no. They said, sister, dada. They said I had what for what? I have no money. This is what they say. There's nothing set up there for them. I mean, it'd be great if there could be a program developed that would teach them, how to go about applying for mining rights and, and searching for the right parts to, extract the various resources, and then, how to produce, and how to alchemize them into other things. There's nothing like that for them. Again, there's a script. I get up, I try to make this money so that I can eat and feed my family, and I go to church or I go to the mosque and I wake up and I do it all over again. For the most part, this is not everyone, but this is what I saw. And it just keeps them in a state. A lot of brothers and sisters they're not even aware of what's going on in their own land. They have no idea. And it's not of interest to them, because when you keep a person in a constant state of lack, you change their mentality, which means they are becoming different beings. This is what's happening. Watuluka Media. So it's you again, right? So you said lady. First of all, D. So if you can't address me correctly, then excuse yourself, because I will block your ass and I won't even have discourse with you. It is mahogany. That is what you will call me, not lady. Let's get that straight right now. And I've had conversations with you before, and I've had to get you straight. You do not have to go outside of your home country, especially when you're coming from the land of the most greatest empires and kingdoms and minds. You do not have to go outside of your land especially when you come from a land that was home to the greatest empires, to the greatest kingdoms, and to the greatest minds that ever graced the face of the planet. I don't know who you think you're talking to. They came after you. And you somehow think that you need to crawl to them and seek education in their lands? What? Does that make any sense? Yes, we all have something to offer one another. Absolutely. That's the beauty in the diversity. But in that, don't totally forget who you are. Don't forget your greatness. Especially when you are the indigenous and the others learn from you and your ancestors. And then they took that and they developed and made new things. You don't have to go outside of your land for a better education. Of course, you can go and study different cultures and of course, and see how they do things and see if you can improve on anything. But again, the foundation was you. Okay? Wataluga? Let me see what you guys are saying. Peace, Life Trod. I'm not talking about the colonies. We know that the colonies were never ours. I'm speaking of the land. This is why I always say land. Okay? I know that these colonies were never ours. I know what happened at the Berlin Conference, and I know that in the physical divide that happened, the physical divide of the land that happened at the Berlin Conference had a profound direct impact on the spiritual division of the people of the land. And so now the people of these lands and these great kingdoms, of these great empires, they now identify themselves by the borders that were created by their oppressors. And I literally get sick. You know, I was watching the last video I did, I was talking about what was happening over in Ukraine and how the brothers and sisters were being treated over there. And the next day, there were on IG, there were several representatives of countries of lands in Al Capulon, and they were saying, "Oh, if you're a Zimbabwean, this is the course of action. Oh, if you're Nigerian, this is the course of action. Oh, you know, if you're Congolese, this is the point of action." And I'm just like, it literally, I felt ill. I literally felt ill in my stomach because all of them come from one land. So there couldn't be like a collaboration so that there could be one plan and course of action to get the brothers and sisters to safety. It just, I could see the division being like perpetuated, and it just made me. It literally made me sick. It really it made me sick. Bat Yisrael. Okay, that makes sense. I watched a video from Tanzania that showed the Tanzanite stones being sold by an Arabic man. Again, most of the licenses, the mining licenses, they are not acquired by the people of the land. So that's not shocking at all. It's quite sad. Life Trod, singing these anthems and quoting these pledges to colonial flags was and is of no benefit to the colonized. All these shenanigans act the same way as the Bibles and Qurans access. WM West Coast 1980 facts. Life Try access to that which is of resource and interest to the colonizer. We out here trying to empower ourselves through various fanfares of colonizers. Again, that's why it's time, and I agree, it's time for us to come back to our organic selves. You are the foundation. You are the beginning. You are enough. You. Stop looking outside of yourself. Stop looking to other nations and for your salvation. They really did a good job. They have done a fantastic job. They really have. You got to give it to them. I don't even recognize the people anymore. Like I truly don't. The stories that I read about of the great warriors, prior to colonization, and I'm talking about even going way back, the astoundingly like amazing things that our ancestors were able to do. I don't see much of a remnant of that. However, I know that greatness still lives inside of them, and it's awaiting to be awakened. I really feel inferior because this is the trick back. I'm the one that really feels inferior. And so because I feel inferior, I'm going to make you feel the way that I feel. Because I really admire you. I admire your history. I admire your culture. I admire your languages. I admire your mannerisms, your ways. I admire your music. I admire your hair. I admire everything about you. But those things that I admire about you, I'm going to demonize and make you think that they are ugly and that they are inferior to me and my features, to me and whatever culture I think I may have, because I really don't have much of a culture. But whatever culture I may have been able to muster up and create, it's not sufficient enough for me. Your culture is so deep, it's so colorful. Oh, it's so whimsical, it's so beautiful, it's so soulful. And I want that. But I don't have that. And so I have to use the trickery of reverse psychology, and I have to make you believe that everything about you is bad and is ugly. And then I will take everything about you and apply it to myself, appropriate it to myself. And the world is going to think it's the coolest thing since sliced bread. And that's exactly what's happening. It's reverse psychology. It's the oldest trick. And our brothers and sisters on the continent have fallen for that trick bag. And so they think that everything other than themselves is better, is superior. It's one of the oldest tricks. Lavelle Turner, did you find the same thing in Ghana? To a certain extent. Ghana I saw a lot of straddling, okay, of the fence in Ghana. Okay, this is what I saw. Okay, so on one hand, you have all of this vibrato about the pride and the history of Ghana, and and the culture, and Kofa and the other, the other ways and all of that. You find all of this vibrato, and beating on the chest about it. But then every Sunday they're in church. Every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, or they're at somebody's mosque and they're rejecting their indigenous spiritual systems. They want nothing to do with them. Now those are deemed as evil. Okay. So there was a lot, and even them, yes, a lot of them. There was so many brothers and sisters who I encountered who were like, I need to leave. They wanted to leave Ghana to for better and greener pastures. And like there was even a documentary, I think I mentioned this before. There was a documentary about some brothers and sisters from Ghana who went and literally swam, risked death to go over to Italy to work on plantations. And they live in squalor. There was a brother needing help from, he was asking me in any way if you can help me. He needed to go over to London because he said there are no jobs. He said there is no work. He had the wherewithal, he had the knowledge. He had a special knowledge about it was like water systems or something, and he said he could not even support himself. So yes, I saw the same behaviors. On one hand, oh, I know who I am, ha! And, but on the other hand, I'm in the oppressors' houses of praise. Okay. I'm craving and I'm risking my life to go over and work in their lands and be a slave, or working, in companies in other lands, because it's just not happening in my own. And I can't say that I blame a person for wanting to provide for their families. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is, if your will is to really, like, if you really love your land and you don't want to leave, you can. Where there is a will, there is a way. There's a way. That's if that's what you want to do, and there's nothing wrong with even going over to other lands and going to, learn in that land, as long as you don't perceive their ways and their culture to be superior than yours. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's when it's a problem. And shame on the so-called leadership for not doing the right thing and making sure and ensuring that its people can thrive, especially after they spent all this sum of money. Some actually do stay in Ghana and they get their education there, and some stay in Tanzania. I have met brothers and sisters who actually did stay in their lands and they did get their education there. But once they're done, there's nothing, there are no jobs for them. That's a shame. But then time and time again, day after day, they see other nations come over and do what they have not been able to do most of their lives. They see them thriving. They see them in the beautiful, housing structures. They see them not struggling to feed themselves or their families. They see them being able to enjoy, what the land has to offer. Do you know that I could count. I met over 10, and I know there was so much more. So, because I was living there in Tanzania for almost 2 years. But I can say I met at least 10 brothers and sisters, and it's probably more, but that I could recall and remember. They had never even gone to Zanzibar. They're like, no, I've never gone there. You know, there's a beach over in Kigamboni, South Beach. You know, they've never, and again, that's owned privately, so it's not. But I'm saying, just enjoying the layout of the land, just in the free spaces and places that are there. There are waterfalls that are breathtakingly gorgeous that they have never gone to, never, because the people are always in a state of lack, and the only thing that they can think of, they're in a state of constant survival. So it's not even in their frame of mind to even go and experience the beautiful waterfalls, or to go and experience the paradise that is Zanzibar. Lavelle Turner, remember, we are dealing with Satan. What and what's your point? If you can elaborate on that, what do you mean? Remember, we're dealing with Satan, and that means that energy, that entity has always been around. Has always been around. And even that entity has something to teach you. It's so funny. We give these entities so much, like we give them way too much power, too much. Let me tell you something. Even if somebody has a gun to your head, you have a choice. People say, "Oh, well, I don't have a gun to your head." But even if you had a gun to your head, you still have a choice. You have free will. So the temptations of the Diablo, of the devil, of the double, you don't have to fall for. But in that falling, whatever you deem falling to be, because there's a lesson in everything, in all of our experiences, whether they're adverse or not, there are lessons. So I really don't know what you mean, by that comment, as if, this entity just, is taking a hold of you, and you have no control, whatsoever. Yeah, we're dealing with the opposite. The whole universe is comprised of opposites. That's what makes it, that's how it operates. So there's always going to be a positive, and there's always going to be a negative. That's just universal law. We're not going to escape that. Yes, no, I understand. Peace, life, try. I understand. I understand. I understood you very well. And welcome. So glad to see you here. Lavelle Turner, this is a war, and it's the indigenous Black Americans that are awakening to the truth. I can't, not all. I mean, we can't even paint it with a broad stroke. Not all, but I did see it occurring a lot more in North America than I did when I went on to the continent. That's very true. But that doesn't, and I don't mean to say that none of our brothers and sisters there are awakened and conscious, because that's not true either. I'm just saying that they're on a script, and there's just a large number that, still have not awakened, and it's by design. And there's a reason why we on this end have awakened to the tune of in which we have. And I feel like us going over there, and speaking life and planting seeds, that's one of the primary reasons why, and trying to wake our brothers and sisters up, and being that light. WM West Coast 1980 LOL, yes, says at the state we're in today, sometimes it's hard to believe that we was great people at one time. It Listen, y'all, I know. And I come on here and I try to exude the light. I try to vibrate high, but I've had my moments where I'm like, well, shit, I know we were great, but damn, I mean, can we get back to that? When are we going to get back to that? I get angry. I wonder, I weep about it even, but at the end of the day, I have to know that we will be reestablished and we will be an even greater nation again. I know that. There is no doubt in any part of my being, you guys. I know that. It's normal. We have been perpetually oppressed. Perpetually oppressed. Okay, I gotta get some air in here. We have been perpetually oppressed. So that's just a symptom of living that type of hard, abusive, downtrodden, low vibrational, existence, and having those experiences again for hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of years. Of course, it's going to have an effect on your self-esteem. Of course. But we mustn't let it consume us. We mustn't. We have to constantly and consistently speak life to ourselves, even if the world is spewing poison and hate our way. We have to do that within ourselves and with one another. We have to love one another, even though the world is portraying us, as disrespectful lunatics who just kill each other every day and all day. And it's so funny because my son he happened to look up some statistics, and he was like, we were talking about how the media deliberately puts out propaganda and news to sully and to taint our character in the minds of other nations of this world. And it's done on purpose. And he said, I want to look up some statistics, because he was saying, yeah, they're saying we're always shooting each other up or killing each other, but what about the other nations? And so he was looking up the statistics, and he actually showed that it was higher in the nation, in the Caucasian community. I said, but see, you would never see that. And it was also high in the Hispanic community, but even that's not globally, globally put out there. It's not shown. Again, because there's a deliberate attack on our character as a whole. Of course, you're going to have conflict with those that you live around. So we primarily live amongst one another. So quite naturally, we're going to have conflict with one another whenever conflict arises. And again, we have to come up with better ways to resolve a better conflict resolution. We have to do that for ourselves. And again, and us speaking those affirmations to ourselves, but then speaking it to our reflection, which is our brother and our sister. They're our divine reflection. So when we see each other, just greeting each other with love. Of course, that doesn't mean not correct, because correction is necessary, but that can come from a place of love as well. It's just like you love your children. You're not going to allow your child to go and do things that go against your teachings, that go against, your rearing, that could hurt them. You're not going to let them go and play by the street and not say anything. You discipline because you do love. So we have to do that for ourselves. And I do see that. I see it happening. I see slowly but surely, I can see it. I see now how we greet one another. Hello, sis. Hello, beloved. I hear the brother saying, hello, goddess. Hello, divine reflection. I see the sisters, the same thing. And I see little by little, even amongst the sisters, I see them letting go of that catty nature, that messy nature, that envious nature. Just because you see another beautiful sister, there's nothing wrong with letting her know how beautiful you think she is. It takes nothing away from you because you're confident in who you are. There's not another Mahogany. Even if someone else is named Mahogany, I'm saying there's no one that has the blueprint that Mahogany has. How could I ever be envious or jealous? It just makes no sense. So I see that slowly but surely, and we just have to continue on that frequency. We have to continue in that energy. We have to just continue it, and we're going to be all right. So I know it's hard. It's not easy, and I would be a lie if I told you that it was, because it isn't, because of the perpetual oppression that we have lived under. But just because it's not easy, it doesn't mean that it's not possible to achieve. And we have to know that. So let me see here. Nana Dreams, that is deep. Nana Dreams, and that is so true. Nana Dreams is the same in Ghana. We need to decolonize our mindset. Absolutely. That's a beautiful way to put it. That's exactly what needs to happen. We need to decolonize our mindset, and we need to rewire it. It needs to be rewired. We have all been turned into different beings, and some of us have just had the energy and the strength and the wherewithal and the willpower to constantly fight against that opposing power that's trying to change us into slaves and into who they want us to be. And we have to constantly fight against it and not allow it to consume us. And it has done that. So many of us, it has consumed us. And we have fallen. We have fallen victim of the trickery. And it's happening on so many levels, you guys. It's happening in our food. They're poisoning our food. They're poisoning our water. They're poisoning our womb. You guys, I don't know if you've read, there was something on IG, and there were these scientists, and one was a brother, and I cannot recall the name of the chemical, but it was like a pesticidal chemical that they use, and this chemical was proven to change the hormones within males and turn them into female. They did this study on some frogs, and he showed how this genetically male frog was now behaving like a female frog, and it had even started to lay eggs. It's deep, and now they have they've been doing this. Okay, what is the word that I am looking for when it comes back up? But they can target, okay, a specific race of people, okay, and they can develop a chemical or a poison that can directly affect a specific race of people, and this is what they have been doing to us for the longest, and they're still doing it to this day. So we have it in our food, and we have it in our water, and then they're poisoning the wombs of the womb men. They're poisoning the minds. of the men and the womb men, changing them, changing the sexes, changing the way that they think and that they function. And they have gotten this down to a science. This is what they have been doing to us. So we have it on so many levels, poisoning our family and our family structure and removing our kings from our homes. They've been doing that since the 50s, the 60s. I mean, it's just one thing after another. They have been poisoning us economically, and there's been perpetual disenfranchisement, with the redlining. And then if they do decide to give us a loan, the interest rate is sky high. So many of the major banks have gotten sued and have had to give payouts because of this racist behavior. You have other nations that can come over here and they're given loans to open up businesses in our communities. And look at the way they treat us in our communities. But we are to blame because you let them. They beat you up in their stores. They put you in chokeholds. They jump you, and you're right back at it again, right back in there. So you are to blame. We are to blame. We have played a sick part in our own oppression. And just like the Willie Lynch letter said, you see, he just laid the foundation. But he said that it will continue to turn on this axis. Something catastrophic has got to happen to reverse it, to stop it, to eradicate it. And we're still trying to get to that turning point. We're here, but we have a ways to go. Life Tribe, mindsets, cultures, total overhaul of our very concept of life and humanity. That's an excellent point, Life Tribe. Let me, there was again, on IG, and IG is off the hook. It's crazy. Sometimes, like I said, I take a break, long breaks. There are months and months where I just don't even go on. There are months that I go by and I just don't post anything. A lot of times I go on because there are specific pages that I follow because they have some profound, deep information. But I get caught up sometime and I'm scrolling through and I saw a post of a sister who posted a picture of herself, loving herself with her hair, her natural hair that grows under her arms. And the sisters and brothers were clowning her, calling her all types of names, saying she's all kinds of nasty. Why do you think it grows there? It doesn't mean that you have to keep it there if you don't want to. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with you allowing it to grow. That is why it was put there. It is also an energy conductor, especially of electricity. There's nothing nasty or unhygienic about her growing her natural hair under her arms or allowing her underarms hair to grow. That's how messed up we are. So when Life Tribe said there needs to be an overhaul of mindsets, cultures, and our very concept of life and humanity. I mean, we're even demonizing, hair that naturally grows on our body. Okay? And mischaracterizing it as being, unclean or unhygienic. Just because she has hair under her arms doesn't mean that she smells. I don't know how they equated that to that hair to smells. You know, getting back to our organic selves, very, very important. Getting back to our organic selves, very important, very important. Um, Nana Dreams, our people don't want create and they don't want to work on the farms that our ancestors have left us. They are not content with what they have. No, they're not. Because again, they've fallen for the trick bag of reverse psychology. And so now those very oppressors that have demonized them and their phenotypes and their cultures and their ways, their ethnic features. That's the word I was looking for, you guys, by the way. It's ethnic biological warfare. That is what they have been doing, to us. Ethnic biological warfare. But yeah, they've fallen for the trick bag. Life trot. Ooh. Life trot. Step out, fully cease believing you can reacquire your true self while meandering in the lie. And so he's saying that what Life Trot is saying, that we're going to have to totally disconnect. We can't still function within their culture, within their society, or under their system, and still think that we will be able to function as our organic selves. And correct me if I'm wrong. Life Trot. Sage Phoenix. Peace, sis. Peace, peace, peace. Good to see you. I am what they're putting in baby vaccines. Okay. Are you asking what are they putting in baby vaccines? Lavelle Turner, what do you think about separation? What do you mean, us separating ourselves and just being amongst ourselves? I think that if that's what you're saying, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that if that's what we want. I mean, that's the point of being a sovereign nation of people collectively. You don't need permission from anybody. You don't. And we've always been very loving and very welcoming. We've always been, but that has not been reciprocated. And so if that's what we deem as necessary for us to heal ourselves, for us to function, and for us to get back to our organic selves, then of course there's nothing wrong with that. And we don't need the permission of anybody or validation of anybody to do that. And that shouldn't be equated into hate. Sometimes I get exhausted that I have to even explain certain things, but the way that people's minds work, it's immature. Oh, because this group of people want to be alone. Oh, then that means they hate us. They don't like us. Oh, that means that doesn't mean any of that. And we don't have to pacify anybody's feelings either. You have other nations of people that do this very thing, and it's never demonized, and it's never questioned. So yeah. Journey to the Most High. Shalom, sis. Peace, peace, love, and light. There is no coincidence that a certain business is in ATL. The doctor who spoke on that said that it was put in the water. Okay, then enlighten me, because that's kind of like in code, and we need to know what was that. What was? Oh, are we? Wait, are we talking about the pesticide, or are we talking about the other ethnic biological chemicals of warfare? Which is that? What you're talking about? Um, Journey to the Most High. Give me some clear. Expound just a tad bit. Lavelle Turner is separation. Separation is something that, okay, we read that. Separation implies that we were somehow in a state of togetherness. Nah, a slave isn't ever together with master tolerated in proximity, more so. But I think what he's saying, well, you can, because we're changing now. So I understand what Life Trot is saying, but even though we are, some of us are still, somehow attached, to this system, and we are still very much so living amongst our oppressors. As we can see, there's still an awakening happening, and I can see it very clearly. I can see it very clearly. So it can still happen, but in order for us to really achieve the full potential of unity, of course, there's going to, like I said before, we're going to have to totally disconnect. We're going to have to, but I still see that change has come. I still see an awakening. I can see it very clearly. I can see it even within myself, and I can see it within some others around me. So that gives me joy. That gives me joy, because I know what I know, and I know that things have to progress in a certain way, and in a certain time. Okay, in a certain, of course, we're in that age right now, but everything has its place, its space, and its timing. Although the time that we're in is an illusion, so I'm not talking about that time. Okay, but everything has its time, just as the sun does its revolving, and in its due course and in due time. I mean it in a more universal type of way. I'm hoping I'm articulating myself correctly. Journey to the Most High. Yes, separation is necessary. Journey to the Most High, the biochemical war. Yes, it is. It's in the water, and everywhere, in the food. It's everywhere. Like I said, we're being attacked on so many levels, and of course it's happening to other people, but they will even admit that it's happening to us in a disproportionate way and manner, and it always has. Always has. Journey to the Most High, the center for is based where a high concentration of us are. Oh, yes. Of course, there are no coincidences. There just aren't. Of course. I mean, there was a woman, I can't recall her name, but there was a Mzungu woman who just came out and said it. I think she worked for one of these crooked organizations, okay, that are the decision makers under this system. And she was saying how in one city, and I can't recall the city, but she was analyzing the high cases of diabetes amongst melanated people. And she was saying how, I think it was either milk, or a certain type of milk, or something that they were shipping to those particular groups, melanated groups of people in those various states. And in each part of those various states where there was a high concentration of melanated people, the diabetes, numbers were like sky high. And she said that they were saying that it's attributed, like it's a genetic attribution. And she was saying, but that's not true, because if you look at their going back into ancient times and looking at their ancient ancestors, this was not so. So meaning they didn't have diabetes. So how could this be genetic? So yeah, there's absolutely, no coincidence whatsoever. None. There are no coincidences, no matter how small or how big. So, all right, we got work to do, beautiful ones. And it's so beautiful because we're in the time of, I know, we're in Aquarius and we're in this age. This is the age of evolution. And so this is our time to really go back into our real authentic spiritual selves and really reactivate our natural powers. I know that there are times where it's just too much. I'm feeling this. This is what I'm saying. I'm starting to now be able to feel and analyze energy. And I just got this overwhelming sense that some of you all or some others out there, that people are feeling really weighed down, really overwhelmed, still, like very much so overwhelmed. And it's about who they truly are, their journey of finding out who they truly are, feeling like it's so much work to get done because we've been so destroyed and so far removed from our organic self. So some are feeling like, and you guys can tell me if this is, if this is what you've been feeling lately, that some people are just feeling so heavy and so confused because there's just so much information out there, and it's so many spiritual teachers and spiritual pimps and this. It's a lot. Oh, and now we have to prepare because the crash is coming. And I have to make sure that I grow food. I have to make sure that I can get land. I have to make sure that I secure a place. I have to see how I'm going to be able to. I know it's all these things, but let me tell you something. You don't have to worry about any of those things. And you're like, well, why don't I have to worry? Because as I've stated before, everything that you could ever want and need, the source has given you the power to manifest it. Everything is about feeling, vision. You have visualize it. Anything that you want. This is what I've done in my own life. Okay. If there's something that you're wanting, something that you're needing, you can have it. But I can tell you that all non-righteous behavior, low vibrational behavior, that's going to be a problem in this age. So if that is where you are, you need to be doing some serious work, because the Great Mother is she's getting rid of all of that energy. And Daughter Earth. But if there's something you want and need, trust me, you have the power within yourself to manifest it. Why? Because everything that you need, listen to me. This is not me I know that there's so many people out here and these pastors and these inspirational speakers and all that. This is not about inspiration. If it does inspire you, that's wonderful. This is just the truth. Anything that you need, you can have, because it already exists in the unseen world. And you, being created the way that you are, have the ability to transmute that to use your energy and to take from the unseen world and manifest it in this physical realm. Everything that you could ever need is already here for you. Just you may not be able to see it, but it exists. So anything that you're needing, you can have. But you have to put in the work. Time is a currency. So whatever you spend your time currency on and doing is what you have bought. Repetition and consistency is the characteristic of a God. And I've said it before that we have mastered distraction. You've mastered it. So that's why, and then you have this microwave mindset where you feel like everything is supposed to come like that without you putting in the work. Well, it's not going to happen. But it's there for you if you're willing to put in the work. So you don't have to feel so heavy. You don't have to feel that way. And this is a message for whoever was feeling that way, that energy that I felt. This message is for you. I also felt that way some time ago. And every now and again, it tries to creep back. It tries to creep back. But I push it behind me and I get into my meditation. And eradicating fear is a must. You will not be able to manifest anything when you're operating in fear. So you can forget about it. It's just not going to happen. Okay? Journey to the Most High. Even in the Caribbean, the salt there is made with yellow prostrate of soda, which is a formaldehyde. While we were there, I quickly caught that and couldn't eat a lot of the foods. And just like in Arusha, if anybody has here, of course, I know Trod, you've been Journey to the Most High. I'm sure you were in Arusha and you could see how the brothers and sisters there, their teeth are really brown and rotted, is because of the high levels of fluoride in the water. And so, yeah, it's been happening for a long time, a very long time. WM West Coast 1980. Just keep the sun in front of you during the day and keep the moon in back of you at night, and you will be okay. Yeah. It's really important for us as melanated people to get out of our coffins, which is our homes, okay, and really connect with Ra, really connect with the sun. I think I read that every cell in our body needs vitamin D. So that should tell you, and even if it's not every cell, it's most of the cells in our body. So that should tell you just how profoundly important it is for us to be in the sun and get our sun exposure. The rays are healing. They're healing rays. The sun releases prana, new prana, every 3 hours. And prana is life force energy. Okay. And you call it air, but it is prana. Okay. So it's really, really important. I tell you guys, anytime that I had been under the weather, when I have gone, I made a point. I don't care how weak or sick I felt. Sorry, something's bothering my eye. I will always go out and get in the sun. And it would heal me. It really, really would heal me. And I would get right out there. I remember in my compound in Tanzania, I had a huge compound, and I would get a chair and I would just right in the heat of the day, I would just sit there in the sun every day, every other day. And just to make sure that I got that healing and that I got, the activation of the vitamin D. Very, very important for us. Very important. So even if I know you get so tired and you get so comfortable and you just want to stay in and lounge around, go out. Don't you see the others sunbathing? Why do you think they do that? It's important. It's important. So we have to do that. We have to make sure, that we're going out and we're getting that good prana, and that we're getting those healing rays. It's important, and it's important for the expansion of our consciousness. So yeah, like I said, we have a lot of work to do, but we're doing it. We're doing it, beautiful ones. And still, I hope you're coming together and building your micro communities, your micro self-sustaining communities. That's, prove yourself wrong. Where you see, I was just talking to my son about this, where we witness other nations like coming and moving together, and it's like 10 of them in one house, but it's giving them all the opportunity to put away, for themselves and their families. And so if they can do it, we most certainly can do it. So this is the time. Get a small group of like-minded and like-hearted people, and do it. And do it. Build your self-sustaining micro communities, okay? Because the time is now. It's not coming. It's now. Master concentration. Master concentration. Master concentration. All right? Be good to yourselves and be good to those around you. All right? You are beautiful and I love you. All right? So that's all that I have. Peace, love, and light.